Okay, for those of you who can't see me, I have a baton, and I'm about to start this episode.
Highlighter.
In 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3.
We watch Maestro.
Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Nothing for it. Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
I love you.
I know.
Get to the chopper!
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
I see dead people.
Milk was a bad choice.
Hello and welcome to How to Be a Movie Snob, Oscar edition number 2. Or 3 if you count the pre-Oscar edition. Anyways, guys, welcome to another episode. It's the first month of the year. We are happily moving on to our second Oscar contender. In the
Probably.
I mean, we don't know yet.
Hoot hoot.
And actually, we are, some would say behind or on schedule. Depends on how you they won't know the Oscar nominations by when this is released. So we still won't know.
So we're right still.
So we're still okay.
Not confirmed nom.
Yes.
Something will get nominated from this.
Yes, but
someone.
pretty sure. This one, although our intro probably has already spoiled it, this is done by a team of directors who just passed on the buck to some other director, to then some other director. And
They
then
don't have time.
And they're like, you know what? Let's just settle on that one guy who does those funny movies sometimes.
He did one movie before.
Yeah, that's
It'll
right.
be fun.
Right before this, that's true. He directed this. So this is the second directorial debut. So I guess it's not debut. It's his second film. It's his
first second film.
Yeah, that's right.
So it is a debut of sorts.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's what debut means, but we're going to move on from there. It also has an incredible DP who's worked on a ridiculous number of films, several who have won Oscars as well. We've got a makeup artist who's arguably the best in the trade. We've got aspect ratios galore. Okay, mostly just 2. Maybe 3? 2 or 3? 3 different aspect ratios. And
Well, no. I
think it's just 2. I think
two different colors.
Yes. But two
different aspect ratios.
Not always at the same time. Different situations. Yes.
Yeah.
This
It's a doozy.
This one, and the doozy of all, of course, it's made by the company that's taking over everything. It's made by Netflix. Folks, if you haven't guessed already, what are we talking about today, Pat?
Maestro.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, the Leonard Bernstein biopic? Yeah,
Ish.
sure. Kind of. They talk about that a little bit. This one is
not biopic.
No, not exactly. A very specific
Not the traditional biopic.
No.
Sampling.
Directed by your third favorite character from the Hangover series. Maybe fourth. I don't know. The fourth favorite character? Arguable. But arguably the best looking in that bunch. Mr. Bradley Cooper, his second movie. Directing, of course. This one could get as many as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nominations for Oscar. That's my guess. It's going to get 6 nominations.
But it will get 3.
But it will probably get 3 for sure.
I think it will get nommed for a lot. We'll get costume, makeup, actor, actress.
Not actor.
Actor.
My prediction
he will
is
be nommed.
No.
Oh, for sure.
He will be nommed.
He will be nominated
He's
for
gonna get
actor
snubbed
over director.
because of the controversy.
Oh, the controversy.
Yeah, I was thinking director was maybe.
I thought he's not going to get for that.
No.
Because he
Picture will be in there.
Yes.
So
that's why we watched it.
Because it was on the best picture list. Yes, and we're pretty sure it will be.
Yeah.
If it's not, we're going to have to awkwardly say,
What a waste of time.
What a waste of time this was.
Oh my gosh.
I think this will do fine.
Yeah, I think so too.
As far as noms go.
And we can talk about the controversy, which I'm sure we will. Right now, I think
this controversy.
Plain as the nose on his face.
Stop. This is by now. You guys probably already know who've won the Golden Globes, but it's got 4 Golden Globe nominations, including Best Picture, Actor, Actress, and Director. So those are the 4 for the Golden Globes. So we'll see what happens. So you folks who are listening already know the answer that we don't know because you are in the future. So that
will it be under comedy and musical or
Matt Damon strikes again?
Dumb Golden Globe categories?
They'd be like, well, it's Bradley Cooper, so it must be a comedy. So
yeah. We didn't watch it, but The Hangover, we loved.
We love that one.
Bunch of random European people were like, Bradley Cooper.
Yeah. So good looking. So that's kind of why we picked it, audience out there, just so you know. As always, we are going to start, and I'm going to using start loosely now because I don't know how far we are into the old podcast here. But we're going to start with cold brews and hot takes. Mm-hmm. Ooh. And I usually throw Pat on the bus because he's far away.
I like it.
I do too. Pat, what is your hot take
nice.
for
it's nice under the bus.
Maestro?
So, my hot take, I guess, and we can debate this movie was more about Felicia than Lenny.
Boom. Oh, for sure. Well.
And then my hot tip that I sort of wish.
Not take.
Yeah. Yeah, tip, not take. I wish I watched this movie with subtitles.
Really?
It was so hard to pick up what they were saying in certain scenes. I literally did go back and watch some scenes with subtitles because I was like, what was that?
That's true. And it was mentioned that the audio wasn't great.
Did you guys hear the interview? Because Bradley Cooper worked with Clint Eastwood in American Sniper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And the big thing was, I think I need to do that line again. I'm not sure if I was understandable. And Clint Eastwood famously said, they can't understand it. F them.
Good. I'm glad he took that one to heart.
But he didn't do the PG version like I just did there, folks. So Clint Eastwood said, who cares if he can understand the dialogue? Which makes sense when he's been in those, Italian spaghetti westerns when no one can understand each other. We're on set.
So. Nor does it matter that much what they say.
Exactly right. It's how you feel. That's just the looks.
Those are my take is...
Okay, that's a good one. Ryan, you want next, or would you like me to go next?
Yeah, go.
Ryan, do you know where you're at? Do you know what's going on?
I'm okay.
Hello?
Go ahead,
no,
Seth.
It's a stroke.
I'm gonna get it back.
We're getting age. Okay, and hamsters on the wheel. We're rolling. This is going to be the worst rated Best Pick nomination, and I think unfairly. I think it's going to have the worst rating on Rotten Tomatoes of any of the Best Picture nominations, and I think it's going to be unfairly rated. So I think this one is going to be, dare I say, underdog for the Oscars, other than a couple categories, which we'll talk about. So,
as we speak, it's a 79% critic and 64% audience, which I also agree is
pretty low.
Too low.
Pretty low. That is
too low.
That is pretty low, and I'm a little surprised by it personally. But we'll talk. We'll dump into that. We'll jump into that when we go through the old plot of this bad boy.
Mm-hmm. My hot take is that this movie has the names of people that were alive, but it isn't about any of them.
That's true.
This is not a biography at all.
No, not at all. No, not at all. None of us going to do the hot
Don't
take?
go into it thinking you're going to learn anything about Leonard Bernstein. Okay?
Right. It gives you enough to want to look up.
Agree to disagree.
Okay.
You learn a lot about a little.
You learn that you need to do a Google search
that he's
and
famous,
find out
and you got to figure out why.
Yeah, you don't exactly. That
all
is
this
true,
does is make you research.
Yes, it's not. It's not explicit.
Do well, and there's plenty of information out there. Was sort of the point why the movie ended up the way it was.
Totally.
We all can find all this other information. So let's talk about.
No, and I appreciate that it doesn't ram it down your throat like some other biopics do. So, I'm surprised none of us did the hot take, which is the hot take, which is the prosthetic. Should we talk about that first thing, or should we get into the usual summarizing before we jump into that?
Spoiler, Bradley Cooper is not Jewish.
Bradley Cooper. Not Jewish, and but that was.
But he
the
does
issue.
have a fairly large nose, anyway.
He does. That's why it was surprising that.
Which was, and I heard him talk about, because they did find that his nose was more or less Leonard Bernstein's nose, but because of all the other prosthetics to blend it, they needed to have something.
Yeah. So,
and then certainly as he got older, there had to be a nose change. And to me,
for
the
sure,
family
when
was
you
like,
get older, of course it's going to change.
Yeah.
You could do that prosthetically if you need to.
I mean, this might come as a shock to you both, being my family members. I'm not Jewish. I don't think any of us here are Jewish.
No.
So I don't feel like I can have any offense either way on do I think this is bad.
We don't have a dog in the
family,
fight. Sure.
The family stood by the prosthetics.
As did Steven Spielberg.
And
who is Jewish.
All notable Jewish people.
Sarah Silverman is in the movie.
Steven Spielberg.
So that says something.
Oh,
right
by the way,
And
audience, the reason why I brought up Steven Spielberg is because he's literally the boss. He's the main producer for this movie. He
was going to direct it at one point.
He hired
the first
Bradley
writer.
Cooper, and he's the reason why Bradley Cooper got a chance to do this movie. So yeah, 100%. That's why Steven Spielberg's saying, and he was there. They're all there. And by the way, the guy who does this prosthetic, Kazuhiro, he's like the best in the business. Kazuhiro, he's literally like, if not the best, one of the best to ever do the prosthetics. And he's worked with all the amazing people from
and he did a great job.
Yeah, and he did a great job. So yeah, that's an interesting one as well. But yeah, the controversy, audience, if you're wondering, people called it Jew face, which is a very offensive thing. In case you didn't know, that's a bad thing to be called when your makeup artists make people think that.
Yeah,
so
that's offensive.
It's negative. It's a negative thing. So I figured we just talk about that out front, but it seemed like everyone involved knew the controversy and talked about it throughout the process of making the prosthetic. So since, like Pat said, we don't have a dog in the fight, we will mention it, but they
stood by their choice.
Yes.
And the family backed him up.
So they did their homework, and it doesn't seem to be as big of a controversy as it seemed when I first saw it on social media.
I think when first pictures
because I
came
think
out,
it was very much in social media.
For sure.
Yes. People were like, what has he done? He's playing a Jewish person, and he added nose. It's not a good
Italian
look.
American. How dare him?
I found that the younger version of the makeup was a little uncanny valley to me. But I thought when he was older and in color, I was like blown away by the makeup.
So good.
Especially down to just like even his hands.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And even Carey Mulligan, her old age makeup was like so nuanced, but
good.
really believable. Like it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a little odd, and maybe it was because I'm looking for Bradley Cooper and you're like, your face is wrong.
Did you hear the story about Carey when she was later... She was in her trailer, and she got the doctor to come in because she's pregnant at the end of this movie. And the doctor comes in. She's like, "Oh, I'm 12 weeks pregnant." And he's like, "How do you know?" Because she's in full makeup, right? At the end of the movie, full old person makeup. And he's like, "Because I did the test. I peed on the thing, you know."
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, okay." So shout out to Hero Baby, because that's like the fooling the doctors or something. But that was a pretty good story there, Carey.
Yeah.
So,
but all right,
let's get into it. Maiah, it's time for the one, the only, sponsored by no one, unsullied by sponsorship since 2023. Two? How long has we been on doing this thing?
Like
2022.
Start this?
Oh my gosh.
10 years now. 10 years, guys.
10 years.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
20th anniversary.
Hey. All right. This is the Summer Maiah. Let's take us through the plot. Here we go.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear. That's kind of how it goes with Mr. Maestro himself.
Yeah. So it starts at the end, as many biopics do.
In color and old person makeup.
An elderly Leonard Bernstein, something, what is he doing? Sitting at a piano,
Yeah.
He's getting interviewed, playing a little ditty.
Smoking a cigarette,
like a chimney.
as he does every second of this movie.
So good.
Is thinking back and remembering Felicia, his life.
Bye, Felicia. Oh, sorry, that's not
Shortly
appropriate. That's
after,
not
we go
appropriate.
back to the beginning, where
Immediately.
he gets called to fill in for the conductor who gets ill, and he gets his first shot at conducting, and he's a huge hit.
Boom.
And his life takes off from there. 2 years after that, he meets Felicia, and they fall in love, and they get engaged. They get unengaged, but they don't talk about that in the movie.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
talk
there's
about
a
the
line.
Big
the
plot hole.
Kind
for-
of talking about it.
5-year
Big
gap.
plot
there.
hole for
Yeah,
me there,
sure.
I'm thinking.
I looked up the real story. I'm like, oh, that wasn't even close to the real
Where'd those
timeline.
5 months go, guys? Yes, but they do get married. They have 3 children. Leonard gets more and more famous. Felicia gets kind of famous. She's on stage. She's on TV as an actress. Their children are growing. He has some extramarital relations with men's and women's.
They don't talk about the women's in the movie, though.
They don't talk about the women.
I did not.
There was a line. He's like, "I've slept with both your parents."
Yes.
That was
so we do
hilarious.
That's
know.
very early on.
I almost fell in my seat when
Yes.
they said that. I was like, that is
But yes, they
hilarious.
That was funny.
downplayed that once she. Yeah, it was kind of between her and the other
I do think.
man, mostly Thomas. Thomas.
I think
Tommy.
they did that on purpose so we would be more related to, because there's something about because identity is a big thing in this movie, and I was like, why don't they show the other stuff? Like, why don't they show, because they've done that in like other movies as well, like A Beautiful Mind. They don't talk about his extramarital affairs and other stuff as well, but it's like I think it would distract from the point, which is being a very So, anyways, we'll talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah,
But that was
muddies.
it does muddy the water.
it.
And I was watching this with my buddy. I'm like, I don't know, is this weird? I think it would be more. I would like him a little bit less if I knew how much more affairs he was having. Because it was more of like a struggle with who he was versus struggle with like, this sounds like a good idea tonight after a few gin and tonics, a few 17-year-old scotches.
Yeah, if he's just like a philanderer versus trying to live these two lives,
Right. But
then you're like, well, that's not great.
So this makes him a little bit
No.
more of a trying to live 2 lives when in reality,
Which
it's
it-
probably more of a.
Which it felt like. It felt like at the beginning when they got together, she was acknowledging.
Yeah, exactly right.
That part of him,
100%.
Yeah.
But it felt, at least in the context of the movie, it felt like, I know you need to be with men, and I'm okay with that. It
Right.
didn't feel like she was like, you can just sleep
And
with whoever
anyone
you want,
else you want.
But he has so much love to give.
As soon as he said that in the beginning of
He
the
loves
movie,
people.
I was like, oh, so there's a bunch of affairs that are going to happen in this movie. As soon as that
I
happened,
also-
I was like, okay, here we go.
I also don't know that wasn't totally the situation either. It just wasn't. What the information they gave us made it feel more kind of binary in that way versus like, I just know you have needs that I'm not going to provide or whatever, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the context of the movie, they simplified it, and then when you read about it, you're like, I'm very confused about what's
for
real.
sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. No, anyways, that was a little. So, anyways, folks, we are giving a
Back
lot of
to the
spoilers.
plot.
Just a little warning. We're
Back to the
giving
plot.
you spoilers not only for the
Yeah.
plot, but spoilers that
Yeah.
ruin the actual plot. So we're
Yeah.
doing all sorts of spoiling
Things
of
you won't even
spoilers.
learn in the movie
No,
because we
you're
can't
welcome.
stop
we can't
ourselves
stop ourselves and wait till the end.
from knowing how it really happened. So
gosh.
anywho,
Moving
follows their marriage, their relationship, the ups and downs, the split,
Yes.
her finding out she has cancer,
Yep.
the reconciliation after his big conduction at
And
the
that big-
Cathedral of Mahler's
Which
Fort.
is the apex of filmmaking in
Mahler's
this film.
Force?
It is the one shot
very
that
good.
is.
Yes.
It is the
This-
only thing that puts them. I think it's the thing that puts them in the conversation.
Yes,
Because of that single shot.
I absolutely agree with that. This is the only thing I really liked about
Hands. The only thing? Oh, I got so many questions.
About-
I like a
about
lot
what
of other
this is
stuff.
the only Oscar-worthy performance he brought to the movie. I think.
He brought. Oh, interesting. Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh, wow.
Sorry.
That should have been your hot take.
That should have
been your hot take.
I didn't have the words at
Belated
the
hot
time.
take.
Yeah, there
Bradley
it is.
Cooper, are you okay, man? Sorry, he just burned you.
I'm sorry.
Ugh.
I'm sorry.
BC, baby, come back.
Yeah, there
Okay.
was a little too much people pleasing, I think. By Lenny and Bradley, I think.
Hey-oh.
Anywho's, she dies.
Oh gosh. Oh, but the end of that scene where he sees
He
her.
continues to be a teacher and a composer and a philanderer.
Oh man, they make
Well,
him
he's
kind
not
of
philandering
creepy at the
anymore,
end.
really, is he?
Yeah, which is kind of good that they.
A drug user, a drinker,
Yeah,
still a parent.
apparently.
The end.
The end, yeah, and then just ends.
Any questions?
Any questions? Good
I hope you're all
night.
clear on how his life
So much.
went.
When the movie ended.
Yes.
By the way,
So-
audience, the last line's any questions. Kimberly was like, so many.
So many.
Yeah.
So this movie, has been described not as a biopic, but rather an anatomy of a marriage and a
By none other than
discovery.
Steven Spielberg.
Yep, exactly right, by the one himself. And so I'm just stealing his words here, folks.
Well, Bradley said too. I knew this wasn't a biopic.
Yeah, which is, I think, more entertaining. Although I love biopics.
I think that's maybe what makes it so disappointing for me.
Because you just wanted a biopic.
I wanted more of a biopic.
And that would
I
be
didn't
fun.
It didn't have to be only a biopic or like a traditional biopic, but I felt like there was so much left out. You know, the music career, there was so much left out.
Oh my gosh, it'd be so much fun, yeah.
It would have been just a lot cooler to include so many other things, and it didn't need to be 2 hours for what they did cover.
That's interesting.
For me.
I appreciate that because I kept thinking about, so audience, I'm sure Pat and Mariah know this, but this originally was going to be done by Martin Scorsese. He was the original director who wanted to make this movie. He knew that he did The Irishman, so he couldn't do this, so he passed it on to his buddy Steve-O Spielbergo to do. Is that The Simpsons? No, that's not the one, The Simpsons. And then Steven got busy with, what was he working on at the time?
West Side Story.
West Side,
related.
which is hilarious. So Steven Spielberg does West Side Story, so then he
Which was composed by
the
Lenny.
one, Mr.
Which you
Leonard
wouldn't know
Bernstein.
by watching the movie, but
No, I know, right? There's so many
Things
parts.
that make me upset that got left
I
out.
know. I mean, they mention it. They mention it.
They have a dance scene from On the Town, and
Yeah.
it certainly would
Which
be.
felt a little bit more like that one scene in Hail Caesar.
that reminded me of. Or it reminded me of Red Shoes.
Oh,
Yeah, a little
nice. Nice.
Just the weird, like it became this.
Maybe also like
You
the
know-
Sailors was a little more,
Yeah.
one gender love story type.
Maybe. I mean, maybe that was what they're going for. Because they definitely were playing that card pretty heavy in this movie,
Right.
obviously.
Well, and he also turned.
Well, certainly dancing sailors.
Yeah.
And then he's dancing.
Then he's
Sailor.
dancing. That was a crazy. Remember that? That was like, I'm like,
Getting
oh,
pushed and pulled.
I see what you're doing here.
Gets a little.
How do you
gets
not
pretty
like-
artsy
Not
there.
so subtle.
How do you not like this guy, Mariah? He's singing. He's playing. He's conducting.
Oh, he's so much
He's
fun.
directing.
It's not
and
that
you're
I
like,
don't like him.
"This
I don't know
guy
anything
stinks."
about him after watching this movie. I want to know.
Well, I'm not talking about Leonard Bernstein. I'm talking about Bradley Cooper.
Oh, yeah. I know. I'm surprised you don't like the way his acting is.
I thought the cigarettes were ridiculous. Yeah, I get it.
I think that was what it was.
They did smoke that much. though.
Just because it was
And
making you Jones.
And I
for
know
what-
it absolutely did not bring back any cravings. I can tell you that.
I don't
The
even-
opposite happened.
I don't even smoke cigarettes, and I wanted one after this
Oh
movie.
no, not me.
it made me wonder, like, where are they smoking? It's like.
I just
know
kept
they have,
thinking,
like,
how
fake
bad
cigarettes,
did they
but-
smell?
Oh, everyone smelled so bad back
Oh,
then. Remember, like
so bad.
I remember watching the Perry Mason, and they're on the plane, and everyone on the plane smoking. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is.
Can you
amazing.
imagine being trapped in a tiny room with that level of smoke that is happening in these situations?
I can, because I lived in China in the 2000s, and they smoked.
Okay, sure.
They smoked like America in the 50s. Like there was places in China where I lived that literally people
Well, I
smoked
can't.
like like America in the 1950s.
I can't. I think I would not be happy about it.
It's not good for my lungs. I'm sure it will not
Probably
be
not.
good for later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have so many questions. Oh, so then Martin Scorsese went to Steven Spielberg. Then Steven Spielberg was busy, so he then handed it off to Bradley Cooper. And Bradley Cooper was just stoked about it. And the funny thing is Bradley Cooper, oh, thank you, I forgot to turn that off. Bradley Cooper loved the idea because as a kid, he used to pretend to be a conductor. That was like something he really loved to do. I do too.
He wanted to.
I thought that was so good.
Because of like What's Opera Doc and Mickey, like he'd seen these cartoons of people conducting.
Sure.
And he was like, I want to do that.
No,
and I totally get it.
I appreciate
Those are great.
I appreciate
episodes.
that, and I appreciate the work he put into it.
6 years.
I just
6
feel
years.
like the product
Oh, Maiah.
didn't.
Hard to please.
I feel like he could have
That's so interesting.
Yeah, I loved when he was in the cathedral doing. I loved the orchestra.
Here's a question.
He was
It
working
so good.
hard.
Yeah.
in
And I
that
love the
scene. My
story
goodness.
I love the story of that take. They'd done it. They were supposed to be out of
They
there.
did coverage.
He comes back the next day and he's like, I think we can get it.
And they do it with
And
just
at the
one
end,
shot.
at the end, was
No
it
coverage.
the timpani
One
player
shot.
came up to him and he goes, "Oh, you nailed it. Yesterday was shit. It was so bad. I'm so glad we did that again. Today you got it." And he knew it wasn't good enough.
That's so great.
And he did a great job. It was 6 minutes, one take.
That was my favorite part of the movie for.
And then ending on her, that over the shoulder.
Over the shoulder.
Felicia was
And then
fantastic.
They might have cut, because then they might have cut to like her face, and then they had him come
To
down,
him running over.
giving her a hug. I'm sure they did, because that scene was the whole that to me, when he hugs her because he just missed her so much, but yet then he leaves and you see her by herself, feeling all of his love, but then still being left alone.
Yeah.
And to me, that was like the whole story right there in that one hug. I thought that was
This is the most you're
whole-
gonna get. I hope you're okay with it.
Yeah, and it's impassionate, and it makes you cry.
And
but
she was.
and it's just so hard.
Mostly-
She was okay with it.
Maybe.
Mostly, according to
mean-
this story,
Yeah.
This version-
I mean, who knows? But
this Felicia was fine with it.
in the context of the movie, it was enough for her in the end.
Yes.
They'd come to,
Yeah.
some kind of equilibrium there.
So we got to mention. So this was written. Dual people wrote this: Bradley Cooper and Josh Singer. Josh Singer, famous for writing West Wing, Fifth Estate, The Post, First Man, and got an Oscar for Spotlight, which is what his big Oscar was won. So they together came to this conclusion that this needed to be a story, not of just a biopic, which Maiah would have loved.
Okay.
Of course, imagine a biopic by Steven Spielberg or Martin Scorsese for Leonard Bernstein. I feel like they could still do the movie, and I'd still be stoked.
Well, but Scorsese's would be 5 hours long.
Yes,
It'd just literally be
that's fine.
But he
a
wouldn't.
real time.
He wouldn't have left anything out though.
That's true. He would not have.
He
No.
would have told the dirty.
Yeah.
The demons would
You know,
be in
like,
there.
my
I felt like this
goodness.
movie was missing some.
Yeah. Somehow the
Darkness.
Somehow the mob would be involved.
Like there
I'm not
was
sure
like
how, but they
surface darkness,
Oh,
but
that's
there
so
wasn't
interesting.
real darkness. It was all surface.
Well, I think that's. But I feel like
Is
that's
that what
appropriate. There's
marriage
like
is
a
to you?
waspy,
This is
There's
what
a waspiness to it. in
this
that
is what
they
their
don't
marriage.
Really,
This is what their marriage was through the eyes of their children. The children saw all the cigarettes. The children saw
Oh.
the talk about the rumors
Hot
and
take, I
it
like
being
this.
dismissed really quickly, and them just being okay with it because that's what the grown-ups told them, and everything seemed like through the eyes of children who saw it.
Yeah.
But they didn't actually see like the real, you know what I'm saying. This is
Yeah.
what I felt
I
like
know what
to
you're
me
saying.
that, and it was of course approved by them because
That's what they saw.
that's what they saw. I feel like we didn't get deeper because that wasn't through their eyes.
So okay,
I
yeah,
think it
go
would have
for
felt too
Pat, you go
icky for
first.
them.
I got a
Well,
retort as well, but that's for
to me,
Side
I
note,
don't disagree.
Why are Pat and I always going against Maiah? Is this just is it a
Not
sexist
always.
thing?
always
I
are.
feel like it
I think-
started out us against Pat.
That's true. Usually it's Maiah
Yeah,
against
I know.
Pat. That's true. The last two, it's been us against
and
Maiah.
this is like
so.
a romantic story too. You'd think Pat would just be like spitting all over it.
It's like, did you see them, Pat?
No.
He kissed his kids on the mouth. Can you believe it?
Oh yeah, too much. Almost
This
turned
is-
it off.
This is where it gets icky.
Yeah,
Displays of affection. Ew.
yeah. The cheating and the coke, that's all fine. Kissing your kids on the mouth, too much. No, so to me, I think what you just described is to me like, yeah, that's what they delivered. And the thing I loved from a director's perspective was there was a ton of voyeuristic shots, and it felt
Yes.
like kids on the other side of the wall
On
and or
purpose.
looking through a doorway
On purpose.
and not, yes. And it felt, to me, it felt so real in that way, where it was like, I shouldn't really be hearing this conversation in this fight. And sometimes you were like, I mean, the fight scene was before Snoopy comes along, which is so great.
Oh, it's amazing.
And
It's
you hear
humorous.
the kids yelling, going like,
it's so
Mom,
good.
you're going to miss it.
It's so good.
It's like, yes, this long take, even that, there's a ton of long takes. This is not a tightly
no.
cut movie.
And so many of them were done without coverage.
That
So,
scene specifically was certainly not done with coverage.
Also, the scene at the pool
And the pool scene.
that
yeah.
they shot like a mile away.
Yeah.
I was just
I loved those
blown
choices.
away,
Yeah.
and they just dealt with it. They
Yeah.
just dealt with whatever they got, and this is where I start to think a director actually does something, because normally a director shoots so much coverage that then the editor puts the film together. There's several directors who are famous for shooting tons of coverage.
Yeah. But
then
in
put it
this
together.
situation, there wasn't a lot of editing
Unless
needed.
they're heavy storyboarders in which they kind of
Yes.
they know why they're doing all
Right.
that stuff.
Right. Right.
Oh yeah, my last, I guess,
Last.
point.
How it was shot, I liked a lot.
Yeah, no, but I felt like there was something to it. We can't be on the inside of this really complicated relationship. We're just getting a sense of it, and they are unknowable. These two people, like that. I didn't mind that. I think you wanted to be on the inside of it and understand more.
I wanted
was
to be all up in
okay.
the business to know what I wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted to
I'm
get in
happy-
their brains.
I'm happy eavesdropping at the next table, going like, "Did you
Of
just hear
course
that?"
you are.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm with you, Pat. I'm a little bit both. I would love to get the full story, but I also appreciate it goes back to like Taxi Driver, where you're just awkward. You're awkward on the outside. It's a very similar feel for a lot of these movies now. Barry does it in the show Barry, but you're just kind of on the outside and you don't get the full story, and that's.
I think the problem, I get where it was coming from. I kind of understood the idea, but what bothered me maybe so much about it was that it benefited his image so much.
Ooh, nice.
He never got to be held accountable. You know, his children let him off the hook. She let him off the hook ultimately. You know, like he just, I think it was lacking.
You didn't believe him. You didn't believe he was that good.
I think this is the throughput with Maiah not liking movies is when women forgive bad men.
Yes.
No, in this
For their
situation, it's the
behavior.
children,
Yeah.
not the woman. I was more bothered by their children being like, "It's fine. We don't even need to talk about it."
But in the context of the
cool."
movie, you don't know that really.
That's the point of view I'm seeing, though.
And-
That's
And
what I
also,
saw.
that's so true of all of our lives. Like, we don't love everything our parents do. I know they're not listening, but if they were, I still love you, parents. But you just choose to love them, and I kind of felt like the story was about. I know there are all these flaws. I'm still going to choose to love you because it makes me happier than if I didn't.
Yeah. I'm all for love the artist, appreciate the artist no matter what, but I feel like there just wasn't enough they should have vilified him a little bit more in this, you know? I feel like you just didn't get enough information. Like, if you don't go Google after this movie, if you're like, I don't care to learn any more about him, you probably would go off of it thinking, oh, yeah, it was just...
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I felt like it was more about her perspective in some ways than his, because she had this arc. He was more or less the same.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't change.
It's true. And she went into that marriage saying, I know
whatever.
who you are, and she really did.
Maiah, then what about when he dropped everything to take care of her? He literally, and then 6 months after he died, he did nothing but mourn until he moved on and became a creepy old man again.
Oh, and that just makes it
I
okay.
think he truly...
Well, that's what I'm saying. That it's kind of, it's very noble.
That part was beautiful. I appreciated that whole
And that really
part of the
happened.
story.
That was really
I
true.
do love that.
He canceled shows. He did. He took.
I think they super loved each other, and
Agreed.
it was a really complicated
Agreed.
relationship.
Agreed.
And I agree. He was let off the hook
for a lot of things. Yeah.
because we didn't see the fallout of when he chose to leave, and they cut out, to your point, when he decided not to marry her after they got engaged originally. And then it was just jump to they're married, right? It became this, wait, what happened? You know?
Yeah.
So there was definitely elements that hid kind of how toxic being with him was.
Yeah, I just wanted it to be more real.
Yeah.
I wanted to feel...
Didn't want to like make him a safe, like make him higher than he really was. Yeah, because they're
and
kind
this
of,
is where I kind of feel like Bradley Cooper missed his opportunity to do that because he was trying to please the family and the estate.
And I think he loves
like the
Leonard
point.
Bernstein.
Oh, sure.
And so he also doesn't want to.
He definitely seems to be blinded by Leonard Bernstein's fame as well.
Yeah.
And your point, like the way he talks about Lenny, like, I mean, he spent six years with him, quote unquote. He adores him.
Yeah.
And
and it was all method, and I get it.
But I'm saying that might have blinded him to the downsides
Maybe.
because
But I feel like he worked
blinded a
so
lot of
closely.
people.
I think he worked so closely with the family and really wanted to make them happy.
Yeah.
That he glossed over some parts that should have maybe been a little uglier in the movie. That would have made me a little... I would have felt like the story was a little more
You
complete.
wanted some consequence.
But that also brings you back to making it a biopic, you know?
Right.
He was making it something else, and I have to just suck it up and appreciate that that's not the story I wanted, and it's okay.
I guess I don't know that there were consequences for him. No one held him accountable.
I was wondering about that.
I think you just were
it wasn't.
These
It wasn't
people's
that,
lives didn't, you just didn't get the catharsis maybe you wanted.
Yeah.
We got Puppy. Puppy break, folks. For those of you on the radio, there is this chocolate covered. Is it a rat's pat? What is that? What is that little thing in your arms?
Chocolate dipped.
It's a
little bundle of love.
What kind of dog is that, Pat? Since I don't.
It is a Cavapoo.
Mariah, tell me what that is.
King Charles Cavalier Spaniel mixed with a poodle.
Okay, so it's small
Which
and cute
equals
and adorable.
Cute little being.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So Mariah and Pat are dog people. This is where we thought Pat was the heartless one, but now, audience, I hate to say it, I am actually the heartless one.
Yeah.
People don't know this about me, but I have no heart.
Maybe we should watch Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey and then sit down and see what Seth has to say.
The cat's
about
the best character. Everybody knows that. Hands
But
down.
it's Roseanne, so now that's weird.
It's awkward now. I didn't think about that. But back then it was hilarious.
Or no, is it Roseanne?
No. It's
There's two versions.
Oh gosh, we'll have to get the older
Seth would have
version.
taken Shadow out and just
I
shot him.
Oh, this dog's down this pit.
Oh, that's
Better just
so funny.
This one's looking old.
I
Let's
know.
get rid
Had
of
a good run. It had a good run. Oh my
I'm gonna feel
goodness.
bad. I don't know who the voice actress was. Anyway.
Yeah. So
Maestro.
I want to talk.
Roseanne was the cat.
It was
I'm pretty
okay.
sure.
That's, I think so. I want to talk about a couple things. So one, I do appreciate that it was
Michael
not
J.
a
Fox.
full. That's right. Stop derailing us, Mariah.
Sorry.
Although I was very interested.
Can we watch an animal movie?
So,
Sorry.
Oh no, Sally Field was
Yes.
sassy.
yes, Sally Field was the nice
That's more
one.
likable.
Very like.
I apologize.
You like me. You really like me.
You better.
Yeah, so I agree that this was definitely a one-sided picture of him, but I also don't think it made him like a complete hero, quote unquote, either. So I do appreciate it, but like to be a true biopic of a guy who's so documented was so hard. So they literally took what wasn't filmed. Everything that wasn't filmed is what they did, because then it gets so close to documentary, and I totally understand why.
Yeah, I
someone
get
doing
why
that-
they left a lot of the music
Right.
out. I love that they did the performance in the cathedral and his first getting to be the conductor.
Side note: have you guys watched?
And
Well-
and the class that he did, I liked.
Did you guys
that.
watch a bunch of Leonard Bernstein stuff?
Just a little bit.
Not a lot.
Okay, I watched one thing where he was like directing, and he was brutal. Like he was like, this is wrong. Did you not? How many effing times I got to tell you to do this right? Like
Yeah.
he was like, so a biopic would definitely give it, but
It would have given me the
the joy,
darkness
yeah,
I
yeah.
want everybody to know.
But no one talks bad about him.
No, people love him.
People loved him.
I think
Like,
that's
even when they like
everyone
when
in
he
his
crapped
orbit.
on them,
Yeah.
they still liked him. So there was something very.
Give or take the people, the
Yeah.
guy who tried to shoot him
Because he's in, yeah.
in college.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy too. By the way, that's just like, yeah, oh, crazy stuff. So I want to talk.
I mean, we're all crazy in college.
Right? Am I
if
right?
I had $1 for every time I was shot at,
Oh, I would be poor. So let's talk about. I want to mention the DP just because he's a stud, Matthew Lebatique. Everyone knows him in Hollywood. Like everyone works with I'm gonna say Lebatique. Lebatique, I think is how it's pronounced.
Yeah, I'm not
Anyways.
sure.
But he's like.
Le Batique.
He kills it. He got he was Requiem for a Dream. He got nominated. Black Swan.
Yeah, a
he
long
got
time
nominated.
Aronofsky.
He worked with Stars Born. He's a little known
Spike Lee he does
Spike
stuff
Lee.
with.
This little series, underground series called Iron Man and Iron Man 2.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I worked a lot with Aaron Fish, and then The Whale from last year. He's a DP for that as well.
Oh.
And he's done a bunch of stuff. And then I started looking at his music video career, and he's worked with everyone, like from Taylor Swift to Metallica, like everyone. He's just worked with ridiculous people in that world. And by the way, if you start going down the music video world, it's all directed by all the same directors we're talking about today, folks. Like these are all the best directors of all time who just do these little.
That's how they
part-time
cut their
videos.
teeth.
It's crazy, or get paid big bucks
Too
later.
bad nobody gets to watch much music videos anymore.
No, I know.
We're missing it.
Well,
I do like YouTube for that.
Yeah, YouTube is
because you can just
music video
watch
now.
the music video version. People are still making them.
Yeah, they're still making them.
Oh, I
we
know.
don't
I saw
have
a lot.
normal MTV anymore,
No. We didn't have normal
You know.
MTV after 10 years of MTV. Then it became the real world and more.
but
But yeah. So I just had so Matthew Lebatique killed it. Working with Bradley Cooper, amazing. I'm gonna go into a little side thing also. Bradley Cooper must be pretty okay to hang out with, because everyone seems to like him and want to work with him.
Yeah, I think absolutely. As a person, is
from what I've
very well liked.
learned about making it in Hollywood, for him to get this opportunity, people must have been saying amazing things about him. For him to get the opportunity to direct A Star Is Born, also amazing things. So I kept thinking about how Bradley
and he was
Cooper,
pretty famous by then.
True, but it wasn't.
He did-
But he wasn't good. Like a lot of people are famous, but to be able to direct something, give the keys to the kingdom of a person that both Steven Spielberg
Well,
and
yeah, the fact
Yeah,
that
but
he
like-
could convince them with just one movie. They're
Right.
like, "Oh yeah, you can direct this."
I mean, that was a very good movie, and the musical parts of it, I think.
Yes.
Like, I think Spielberg specifically talked about Shallow, the concert Shallow scene, and being like, "Oh, you should direct this Lenny Bernstein," even though there's only one real music scene in it.
Yeah.
But he directed the hell out of that scene. So.
Yes, he did.
He did. That was
He did.
great.
It was incredible. So I thought that was pretty. I was just thinking about like the relationships in Hollywood. and how people kind of get to be at certain points. And because a lot of people do go to director stuff like eventually, but this seems like for such a small body of work to be working with the best directors of all time, film too, was pretty incredible. So it just, I was just very kind of like taken back, like, you're doing a ton of method acting stuff, you're doing a ton of directing, and you get to do just the fact that he could do.
And you worked with actual composers for 6 years to train for this.
Oh, amazing!
So that you could actually do that one scene.
And as
really
soon
well.
as he said no coverage, I was like, who has the cojones to do no coverage of this pick? Like, that's nuts to me. Like, that is just like, I was like, that's crazy. So I was like, okay. I was very impressed with Bradley Cooper, just the way he loved this, what he did. He loved the way he talked about it. He gave
it was confidently made.
Yeah, very confidently made. And I was very impressed by that. So I thought that was kind of like, just kind of going down that way, but I was very surprised.
I'll give him.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Speaking of the choices, when you were watching it, how much did you grasp what was going on when we switched from, we were 4:3 black and white, then we're 4:3 color, and then we end 1:8:5.
Yeah.
Color.
Yeah. Started in
how much of that did you feel as you're watching versus, and even kind of get an interpretation of why? I had to like re-dissect when each of those changes happened.
I had to at the end go,
and then I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
White? And if you get to
really
the end and you have to go back and go, I wonder when that was, that's, I would say that speaks a lot for
you. Better believe
like you just followed, and it was.
I was yelling at the screen every time a change happened.
As a lay person for the camera work, it was like, oh, when did that happen? Or we're just in color now, I guess.
I was reading about it, or Kimberly was, and it was like, oh, switching from 4:3 to widescreen. I was like, when was it widescreen?
The very beginning, first shot,
and the very end.
Yeah, no, I immediately,
but like minutes out of the 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
5 total minutes or something.
Yeah.
It was actually widescreen.
For sure.
And I was like, oh. And so I missed that. Obviously, the black and white to color, that was the easier one to catch. But I didn't understand until the movie ended
why
he chose there, which it kind of moved out of that, this is the glamorous, we're in love phase
to
the harsher reality of a marriage.
This just got real.
Literally glossed over when they were separated, and she
time appropriate.
Was with,
this is actually when film was actually turning into color more. Also, like he's also it's that
I thought all that was pretty cool, even though I had to kind of go back. And I think what made it nice having this be on Netflix was I could go back and kind of really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I went back and watched the fight scene, and I turned subtitles on because their accents, her like transatlantic. And his kind of mumbly, nasally thing. I was like, oh, what did you just say? Who was that? What?
Yeah.
/ I probably don't have good enough audio in my house. I think the sound bar wasn't even on. I don't know.
It was in the reviews about not being able to understand.
Oh, interesting.
But it was so kind of rewarding to immediately be able to go back and find that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we need to talk about that.
I still would have liked it.
If we're talking about aspect ratios,
nice.
We got to talk about what they shot it on. They shot it all on film. They shot it on all Panavision film. They shot it on all sorts of different versions of Panavision film cameras and lenses. And they tried everything. They shot they tested with Reds and Aries and Sonys.
Oh, so they tried doing stuff digital and they just didn't like it.
They didn't like it.
I'm curious, Seth, as the film.
I'm already
the actual film or camera snob out of us.
Trying to be.
This sounds to me kind of like music sounds the best when it's on vinyl or CD. Like people have, digital. It's not good. You probably could have digitally colorized all this stuff and it would have been fine.
So I'm starting.
Is my perspective.
Well,
But you have Steven Spielberg as a producer on this, who just finished doing The Fabelmans and all of the film and the.
Yeah,
I think there was
sure, but
probably
like,
some serious snobbery.
so there's a couple.
but there's a reason technology changes.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so the grain, the look, the engines used to make the film look.
The smell.
No. So the emulation.
Carrying around
No.
those big canisters.
So
of
there's
film.
two movies that have done it really well and not so well. Also, that were not shot on film that meant to look like it was on film, and that's The Holdovers, which is also in Oscar
Coming up.
nomination as well, probably for Best Picture as well. And that was not shot on film, but it was later changed to look like film. But the problem is how the whatever company, HBO Max, Netflix, Disney, compresses it and then adds it back on, because it depends on how it's converted. So if you watched it in theater, it's a completely different experience than when you watch it at home, depending on whether you're streaming it, watching it on Blu-ray, DVD, etc. Because it gets really into the nitty-gritty.
And for $5 more a month now on Netflix,
That's right. You
can see it better.
But who knows how? So Netflix has a pretty clever way to like add grain, like takes away grain, and then puts grain on in post. For Netflix does, because
when it streams.
Yes.
Did that pop up for
versus-
you when you opened the movie? Like I went to watch the movie and it popped up and said, for $5 more a month, you can see it like this.
You can see it. So there's definitely they want
like
do
the 4K
4K stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I already paid for that.
Yeah, of course you
I'm
did.
sure.
That's great. I don't even know if
And I watch most Netflix things on my
phone.
So,
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
money
This
Exactly
is why
right.
I said no,
It's
because
like
I'm going to watch it on my
460
laptop next to me.
460p.
Look at how much definition
Yeah, exactly
there.
right.
Oh,
These blacks are so crisp.
So this is where it gets into the ridiculous. So like that's why Christopher Nolan shot it on film and wanted to show it on film, because that's legit. That's like you can't digitally get it that crisp. Like when you're shooting on film, it's literally light on paper. When you're doing digital, it's pixels. So you're not going to get the same look exactly. Can you get close? Oh yeah, you can get real close. And 99.9% of the people aren't going to even notice.
that'd be me.
And
I
really,
don't think I noticed.
so I have just in my personal life, folks out there, we're going into my personal life here. I shoot
Awkward.
photos as well as not just videos and films. And I have recently
Is this a plug?
purchased a new
Slash plug for your other business.
not new film camera. And I have been shooting with my film and digital camera back and forth. And it is really hard to replicate film like spot on. Like you just can't, like I use the same lenses on both cameras. I've been trying to, so there is something about film that you always wins. Film always wins when you have digital versus film, because you're still trying to make a computer, like the actual light of exactly what it is compared to computing what it is. Now it's so good nowadays. Like, yeah, it's amazing. Like, and so the record conversation, I would argue, is not the same, because records, like it is a, you're getting added noise with a record, which some people like and think it's more whatever, but you're not getting, I mean, you could say added light or whatever else, but it's not as perfect of a picture, quote unquote, as like a CD is a better audio file because it's a wave. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like it goes down pretty. So it's a rough thing. Now Jack White of the White Stripes would disagree with me. He's like, when you record just directly to analog and then play it on analog, it's a better sound than a digital recording as well. So that is definitely a conversation.
I can appreciate, certainly for movies of a period, right? So this is a period film in a way. I guess maybe it sounds weird to say that, but it takes place over multiple periods.
Not now, so it's a period.
Yeah, it's period. And 90s was a long time ago.
But I like then the matching like what technically it should look like that does evoke your memories and stuff, or nostalgia, whatever you're trying to kind of put in there with all the, even if it's really nuanced, people can pick up on that. I get that.
for sure.
I think there is a snobbiness that I'm not there enough yet, obviously, that I think is more in people's heads than in what the audience actually gets if you're looking at like more modern stuff. I mean, it's just an aesthetic choice.
I got a
right?
modern example for you. I just like
how it looks when it's a little cruddier versus like really crisp digital.
You ready?
stuff.
I'm going straight YouTube on you. Mr. Beast literally chooses crappier cameras because he knows it feels more real than when he's shooting like in the most high tech, like, Marquise Brown uses red, cinema cameras, while Mr. Beast uses freaking dad cams or whatever else to have that more grainy, like crappy look because they believe it's more real. My favorite show, which they canceled on Max, was the Winning Time about the Lakers. And they used 8mm, 16mm, pan flex cameras. They used red weapons. They used every kind of camera you can think of. See, she knows. And it was such a cool feeling show. It was such a cool feeling show. There were so many parts of it. Like even one part where he's like, yeah, I can't figure out how to get the green out of it. So the whole like scene was like them practicing in green tint. Cause like if you screwed up your film and like picked the wrong, like you used tungsten film instead of like, anyways, it was very cool. And it didn't take away from the story at all. It just made you feel like you were really there in so many ways. So that was like my favorite like example of like using all the stuff, it was so I like this a lot, other than like the environmental effect because there's a bunch of crappy chemicals that you have to use to.
Yeah. And I can nerd out about that stuff. I think again when you pair it with the choices, and of course it is a choice, I can get really into it. I think we just as audience members, it's not as important to the viewer than the filmmaker, and I think that's okay. But
yeah,
again, I think they could have just desaturated color digital at the beginning, and I've been like, yeah, it's the best. That's again where I'm not snobby enough about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't know the difference.
Well, I think about this.
I've shot on film, and it was a huge pain in the butt. And then you digitized it, and then you had to clean up all the scratches that your dumb film had on them to have a decent photograph. So there's like a little bit of like, don't we want to get rid of all that?
You're so funny.
No, we want to.
Such a digital animator. I tell you what. For me, I'm like, how do I get? We literally are like buying mist filters for our cameras, and we're scratching our lenses on purpose for like wedding films. Yeah, that's different. Exactly right. All sorts of
smearing it with Vaseline.
Yeah,
and things.
We've done it all. So, yeah, thinking through the movie The Artist that won the Best Picture a few years ago. That has such a different feel because it's. I hope I'm right on this. I'm pretty sure it's shot digitally. Now I gotta look that up, but it just feels like it's black and white still, but it doesn't feel the same. And so it's
crisp.
It's too crisp. It's too crisp.
It doesn't look realistic.
There's something,
black and white.
and even the frame rates we choose to shoot with for Hollywood movies are 24 frames per second because that's the lowest frame rate you can get, so you get that blur feeling, so it feels quote unquote cinematic. So even the history of film makes our choosing what we choose, and even the best cinema cameras, Arri Alexas and Red Weapons and Red, are both the most film looking cameras out there. They literally are trying to emulate the film look. They're not trying to come up with a new look because a new look is too jarring and feels like we're watching the news or sports.
We don't want it to be real.
Well, we do in sports in the
or
NFL.
The BBC.
Well, sure.
Because it looks like video games. Because then we start to look like video games. As soon as you start looking like video games for sports and for some other things, it's like, oh, this is great because it's super realistic, 120 frames per second, 60 frames per second. But as soon as you get back to film where you want to see a relationship, you want that 24 frames per second blur. You want it to look as much like film as you possibly can. So if you got the money, might as well use film. So that would be that'd be the argument for that, because it's a little, unless you're doing for the something super sci-fi or futuristic looking, you don't want it to be too, and even then you still kind of want it to be film-esque. As we've seen.
You want to be zoned in on what's happening.
Right.
The relationships, these weird mole on the side of their face.
I think I believe too much maybe in what digital post-processing can do, working, adjacent to it. And, any modern science fiction-y thing at all is basically being shot in volumes fully digitally with real-time, rendering and compositing. And I love those shows, so I go, all right.
This film, he's wrong.
I was wrong. They use an reflex on the freaking artist. I haven't seen it so long. I just thought it was going to be crisp. 2011. So
okay.
Doggone it.
Can we talk about his?
We went a far field.
Can we talk about his voice?
Yeah.
Did it get on people's nerves? The nasal. I felt like it was a little overdone for me. I feel like,
but so did her voice. And I thought that's probably exactly how she sounds. Well, Joan Crawfordy.
She does. She sounds just like that.
Yeah, and I didn't mind.
So then I went.
I didn't
must
mind
be
that,
what he sounds like.
And I didn't. Yeah, I didn't mind that he was trying to emulate Leonard Bernstein. I thought that he. Yeah. I thought that he tried to do it. I thought that he overdid it. I felt like he overdid it so much that it was just the nasal was getting to me. I wasn't trying to see that he was a different person anymore. It was just like that guy's voice has got.
He did have a deviated septum.
Sure.
Yeah.
He also had asthma and chain smoke.
Yeah, I did start to watch him a little bit and kind of compare the accents a little bit of original and Bradley.
Yeah.
And it is legit, but yes,
I don't need it to be perfect.
Right.
I just need it to be not distracting, and the voice became distracting. The nose was fine for me.
The nose was fine.
I had no problem with the prosthetics. It was the voice, I think, that was bothering me, and her voice didn't really bother me either. And they didn't really have to do much to her. They didn't try to make her look South American, which she was.
Oh, funny. Didn't think about that.
I mean,
she's Chilean.
Hard to tell. Yeah, hard to tell on the black and white photos I've seen of her. She looks.
No, she was pretty fair-skinned.
Kind of like a British actress. Okay, Mulligan.
She was not British.
I think
Felicia was not British.
That's funny.
Yeah. Chilean, Jewish.
Yeah.
Interesting background.
She converted. Yes.
Yeah.
But she's Chilean.
Yeah. Well, but I think her grandparents were Jewish or something. Anyway.
Yeah.
It was distracting to me when I couldn't understand them.
Yeah.
That was the only time. Otherwise, I guess at times it felt like maybe it's Bradley Cooper putting a voice on. But in a lot of the scenes, it was naturalistic enough where it almost felt like they're improvising as these characters that I thought, yeah, I buy this. It's fine.
I thought the mannerisms were fine. I thought the prosthetics and the hair were fine. I loved the costumes. The voice bugged me a little bit. The obscene amount of cigarettes kind of got to me.
It's so funny.
It's like, why?
I didn't even notice it until they mentioned it.
It was a ton of cigarettes. It was the start and end of every scene, someone's lighting up a cigarette.
It was just so
puffing them down.
Yeah, it was so much. But that's where it also made me feel like this is told in the perspective of a child who all they see is cigarettes. They're and they always had a cigarette in their mouth, and literally that's what they did the whole time. And maybe that was on purpose. Maybe I couldn't find where he's of course, yes, he was a chain smoker, but I didn't read anywhere that it was deliberately making sure that there is a lit cigarette in someone's hand in every scene, because I was seriously thinking, except for when she's dying, I think there was.
Yeah, maybe they're in was it Maltese Falcon? They kept smoking because the studio didn't want it. Yeah. Maybe they're trying to piss somebody off.
That's funny.
Who knows?
Marvelous really paying him under the table or something.
But no, I thought she did a wonderful job. I'd give her the Oscar. I mean, I haven't really gotten too deep into the Oscar picks yet, but I think
she was great.
deserved it. He might get actor.
I think he'll win. I think he'll win for Hollywood.
I don't think he'll win for best actor.
I don't know. He should.
People like when you put prosthetics on.
and they like when you talk
But
about
obviously
Hollywood.
some people don't.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's true.
let's. Any last thoughts before we go? Oh, Pat, do you have an animator's angle for this week?
I was trying to think about that.
Yeah.
And I think to me, similar to, kind of that voyeurism or the vantage point of the kids, the staging of the shots where it was just, we're establishing, a lot of sort of stage play, although there's a lot of stuff in the way. You could argue it was really bad staging if you're just really trying to show clarity. But sure. I think they showed a clarity of a perspective. Like, we're not supposed to see these things clearly. We're not supposed to be in it. And so I think that is my best sort of animator take. Also, I guess him conducting, he is a very animated person. I was a little disturbed by how sweaty conductors get. Because they're in their tuxes.
Kissing her face when he runs up.
I love that. Everything about that I loved.
And she let him.
It's a little
messiness of life,
gross.
folks.
Like, are they all that gross?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. If you watch the video of him actually doing it.
For sure.
He's even
he's
worse.
Just soaked.
When he's older, it's not as bad. But like when he's in that.
It's just
that's
like
that's probably like one of the last ones where he's like so into it. But yeah.
Super.
But yeah, I think those are my
good ventilation in there anyway.
Nice. I don't have for my, I'm gonna call it the wedding videographer angle. I just was reminded of Ozu again, where the best, like, of course the Snoopy shot, but that the tripod, stable, let the action happen and go. Like, I love, like, that's what made the simplistic shots, which are, go back to Ozu and then Wes Anderson, of course, to a much funkier degree. But like, I thought those were the fun parts, and the long takes. Because as a guy who, if I have a bad situation, then I'm like, well, this isn't going to be that great, I will revert to fast cuts because that saves your butt.
How did you feel about
energy.
when he finished composing at the house and she runs out and jumps in the pool? What did you think? Because you can't see her.
Oh.
And you're like,
it
it's so
great.
obstructed. Like, I got to see, but then it's also like, this is just how it would be. And
because, I didn't even know who it was. I didn't even know it was the wife.
You didn't?
I didn't, because until they showed the shot of her in the water.
Oh, but she got up and ran out.
Right, but I was watching Leonard.
Yeah.
You didn't quite know where she was.
Yeah, so I didn't understand it, but I'm like, so then once you saw you here in the water, you got the gravity.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you're an idiot. Like, but I love that because it was so, and that was the thing about this movie. It surprised me with the cinematography choices that I enjoyed that, because often you're not surprised at all.
Yeah,
and
no, I liked it. I just didn't know
was
how
like,
you felt
that's cool. Like, there's so many times where I'm like, that was very, and the oneers, the long freaking one, they're just these long takes, and the whole time I was watching, I'm like, this is another long take. Where another one was where who's the guy that looks just like Henry Cavill?
Matt Bomer.
Oh my
David
gosh,
Oppenheim.
Matt Bomer is too good looking.
Very handsome.
He's
man.
just too good looking.
Very well.
And it wasn't me. What's his name instead of him? But anyways, I was I was distracted by him. I'm like, what's Superman doing in this movie? But the shot where the introduces Felicia to his character, and it's so awkward, and they just stay on him the whole time. Yeah. And I thought that was so good. I loved the not cutting back and forth, and that was so great. I love movies when movies do that, and so where they show the reaction, even when like the talking, they don't show the people talking, they just show the people reacting to the talking. I love stuff like that. I love it, love it, because it's like
cool.
Well, and you go on, Seth.
No, I love it. Okay, there we go. Good.
You love it. Okay, one more love it. I think,
love it. Sorry, two more.
To your point, because it doesn't follow these patterns we get so used to watching TV shows and whatever. It adds a tension that I think is super intentional in this movie, where it's like, wait, aren't we gonna get to see their faces? Can't we like get in there? Like, I'm uncomfortable being stuck at this distance.
Would you call that intention? No.
I might call it intentional
No.
and put that emphasis on that syllable.
Yes.
Okay.
But why couldn't they do that through the whole movie?
I think there's a version where you go, this is like such an artsy choice. But to me, in this film, it always felt additive to me. It wasn't like, oh, here's Bradley trying to like win a director Oscar. It was like, oh, this felt like what was right for the scene to understand some of the emotional state of the character, or even put me in a weird spot as the viewer in a way I really liked.
Yeah.
So I liked that I was aware of how odd it was.
Yeah, I like that.
What I was seeing.
I agree. I liked that part.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it always works though. Sometimes you're like, why am I looking at the corner of this room?
Okay.
Can I give a fact?
Oh, yes. Facts.
You know
Please
who
go.
desperately wanted to get the rights to this and play Lenny, who is partly Jewish? Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh,
This could have been a very different person. And after I read that, I thought, I cannot. Now that I've seen Bradley do it, I can't see another person.
Is Jake Gyllenhaal that musical?
I think he can be.
I don't know.
I think, was it Koji? No.
He wanted to play somebody with that much confusion in his
there
self.
you go. Yeah.
I think.
I wanted to work with
The director paired with it. I'm pretty sure did
again.
like True Detective.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I can't remember his name.
But they didn't get it.
Nope. Sorry. Spielberg chose Bradley.
It's crazy to me how often these projects happen. Like literally multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, multiple people tried to make this project, but there was a separate Leonard Bernstein biopic that people were trying to make. This is like the weird volcano.
Dante's Peak. Yeah.
Both sides.
Armageddon,
neither one was
Deep
a great
Impact.
big winner.
No.
But we had the VHS
it's that weird.
of Dante's Peak, so we watched that one.
Did you have the beta of the other one?
The poor grandma's
Laserdisc.
legs boiled.
Grandma
like Darth
getting out of the
Vader.
boat. I started laughing so much. Oh. Only thing I looked up that we didn't talk about is kind of the Kazuhiro's like trajectory into Hollywood, which is pretty fun. He was watching a show called Lincoln, and they used prosthetics in Lincoln to like show Lincoln, and it was made by a guy named Dick Smith, and so he's like, oh, that's cool. He started making prosthetics, and he would mail them to Dick Smith in Hollywood. And then Dick Smith came all the way to Japan to work on a show called...
Why are you sending me clay?
Exactly right. Exactly right. But
It's just all mush.
But
What was this? It's in the hot sun in an envelope.
But imagine your Dick... Because he put his P.O. box in the back of like the magazine that he saw it in. And so like he sent it to him. And so then Dick Smith came all the way to Japan to work on a movie called Sweet Home by Kurosawa. Not that Kurosawa, but the horror film Kurosawa guy. Ooh. Yeah. And then he met a couple people on that set, and then he moved to L.A., worked on a little show called Men in Black, worked on The Grinch, Benjamin Button, and Looper. And then after he started, the Looper was like the big one, because I don't know if you remember the movie Looper.
I did not watch it.
It had a certain gentleman
Bruce Willis
and Gordon Levitt Hewitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Thank you. Wow.
Hewlett-Packard?
Wow. Anyways, they had to make Hewitt, the Gordon.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Love it. I love it.
Gordo,
wow.
I like to call him.
Turn into...
Joseph Gordon-Levitt was young Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis. And they had to make him look like that.
Yes.
And they don't look like each other.
No.
But it was incredible because you believed it. They literally made him age into Bruce Willis, which was so impressive. Anyways, that kind of after that he was like,
I do vaguely remember. Maybe I did watch it.
Yeah. Anyways, pretty good stuff. So he was kind of like the guy to go to. Then he got sick of Hollywood, started sculpting, and then Gary Oldman's like, "Hey, come work with me in this little movie called Darkest Hour," and that's where he won his Oscar. And so he's been back in the biz ever since after he won the Oscar. Anyways, kind of a fun little thing for Kazuhiro.
It's a beautiful story.
Shout out.
Not
and now
missing
he's
any
crap.
plot points.
Nope. I think, and he's the favorite to win the Oscar this year. Just so you know, the people. That's the bets. Bets are going.
Yeah, I
on.
kind of have to see what else
The makeup guy.
is makeup-y.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd vote for him.
Yeah. Anyways,
He
pretty
did a good
stuff.
job.
That's my random.
great.
That's my
Again,
stuff.
what blew me away was Carey Mulligan. Her upper eyelid had wrinkles when she got older
That's cool.
that were so
Legit,
realistic.
yes.
Where I was like, those aren't her real eyes, right? And I went back early in the movie, and I was like, nope, that was makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like such delicate applications to work where that's over your eyelid, and you're still able to like do stuff with your face. Anyway,
Yeah.
That's a good
It's crazy.
animator
No,
insight.
I think
That's a good
that
animator
would
insight.
win the Oscar for me.
Yeah.
I think
It's amazing.
all of that in the movie was great.
Okay, guys, one
last thing. We didn't even talk about all of the music, all the soundtrack of this movie.
Well, we did
is
because
either
Mariah was like angry that they didn't talk about any of like the West Side Story or.
Yeah, but we didn't really touch on like everything
fine.
you hear is stuff either he composed or conducted.
Yeah.
And it felt to me that it again was usually pretty additive. The semi, acid trippy dance scene where they become part of the dance number, maybe aside. I thought
Very
all the
rich.
musical choices felt so good
Oh yeah, no, it was great.
being integrated
It
into the
blended
movie. Where
very well into the movie. I loved it.
yeah, and
No, sounds
it
amazing.
felt appropriate, even though it is sort of a weird premise to do it.
But it also
In a way, I think.
it also kind of brought up the fact that his body of work was so versatile. You
Yeah,
know, he did the
diverse.
movies, he did the opera, he did, all of the
Musicals and
yeah. So you could find a piece. I mean, as much as he said he didn't do that much.
yeah,
It sure covered a lot of. It was able to make a soundtrack for a whole movie.
yeah. No, I liked it.
Yeah. Okay, it's time to make our on the spot reviews.
I have mine ready. I already
Gotta
wrote
remember.
it down.
Gotta remember. Oh, that's not on the spot. Okay.
Okay, go for it,
Well, it
Mariah.
was today on the spot.
Close enough. Close enough.
This is a cinematic scrapbook
Ooh.
for Bernstein's children.
Oh.
Okay, go, keep going. Keep
And-
going. I can see the rest. This is great.
Then I kind of got really snarky.
Yeah, I like it. Do it.
Lacking depth or clarity on who he really was.
Ah.
Wow.
But you could
love
just
it.
do the first part.
No, do the last part. I like it because we need to have the two
That's a
sides here.
sour. That's like
It's
a sour tomato.
It's super sour.
Yeah, that was great. Pat, you want yours next? Or you want me to go?
I would like you to go.
Okay.
My
I'm
brain
I'm
is
just
frozen.
I'm just gonna go as
See, the
as
hot
I go.
takes are where I freeze. I'm ready at the end.
Well, I can be mean at the beginning.
That's true.
I have to warm up to it.
A love story told through the most famous composer of all time in a Bradley Cooper's willed on by Bradley Cooper's research and effort. This is an unusual and perhaps over hero. Yeah. Okay. Let me come back to that. I got some thoughts here. Okay. I'm getting close. I'm close. I'm a verbal
Incomplete.
processor, guys.
Diarrhea.
Okay. Pat, you ready?
No, of course not.
Okay.
You're in the middle of yours.
Okay, I'm ready. Okay, part 2. Maestro has some incredible cinematic moments that make you love movies while also giving a unique perspective, while not complete, compelling picture of one of the most influential musicians of the 20th century. There you go.
That's pretty good.
There you go.
You
That's
got
better.
it. You
I
got it
there. I
together.
got there. Whew. That's rough.
You put it in a time and everything.
Yeah.
So the century. We're in the 20th century? Yeah, he was in 20th century.
Yeah, 1990. I had to think about that because we're in the 21st now. 23 years in, 24 years in, baby.
Dodgers.
Shoot.
What did I think? I liked this movie.
Boom.
Period. No. That's kind of where my brain's at. I liked it. No, I think this is
Just late in the night, not bad.
a compelling dissection of a marriage of a famous family that's light on detail but heavy on emotion.
Nice.
Ooh.
Period. 2 paws up.
IPV.
Oh, the cute puppy. That most views ever. That's gonna be our.
That's going to be the spoiler.
Oh, it will be. It will be the spoiler
video.
2 paws up.
2 paws up, says
Okay,
Ivy.
I'm gonna read a couple bad ones and a couple good ones, guys. Okay, Bradley Cooper's.
Oh, we're going to get other people's
Oh,
reviews.
here we go. We haven't done this yet, folks.
I read a few of those.
Bradley Cooper's mimicry eventually becomes overbearing. If an actor is working so hard that the audience can focus on the work, then rather than his character, it's self-defeating. Thank you, Kyle
I
Smith of the
concur.
Wall Street Journal.
Well said, Kyle.
Maestro comes alive as Cooper, who also co-wrote the screenplay, filters Bernstein's passion for life and the grand indulgences into an intensely physical performance, which peaks in a sweat-drenched conducting sequence that bursts off the screen. Honestly, that scene alone is worth watching the movie.
The scene alone is
Yeah.
worth watching the movie.
That's from
I
Adam
do
Graham
agree.
in the Detroit News. This movie's general lack of candor matches its scrupulous avoidance of controversy, boom, and complexity, which does no justice to the complex and controversial characters at the center of the film. Richard Burdi of The New Yorker.
Ditto, Richard.
A captivating drama that's big, bold, and intimate all at once. That's from Rafa Guzman from Newsday. And Maestro is a labor of love, and its director and lead, Cooper, has poured himself into it. But at some point, all of the effort becomes noticeable, and all of Leonard Bernstein's magic becomes lost.
All of them are pretty accurate
Manuel
in their
Lazick,
own-
The Ringer. Yeah, they're all pretty. I mean,
Nobody's wrong yet.
No one's really wrong. I totally agree with all of these.
It's just which way are you leaning?
Yeah.
What mood are you in?
Yeah, and then the Oscar nominations are coming. So yeah, those are I don't disagree with any of them, but I still would say I would give this. I would say this deserves to be in the conversation for Oscars. No question about it. I still think it's
Sure.
Yeah,
I
100%.
don't agree that it's
In a variety of ways.
I don't agree that it should be on the list. I don't disagree that 79 out of 100 is an okay score.
Yeah, but it's less for the audience, which is crazy. So the audience,
Right. I think the 79 is accurate.
Yeah, the 64% audience score is a little
No,
harsh.
I think that's harsh.
I think it's not a crowd pleaser. That makes me wonder.
But neither was
is there a
May
version-
December. May December is not a crowd pleaser either. They
No,
got a better
I know.
score than this.
But they don't
That's
leave
true.
anything
That
out.
is.
Yeah, that's true. They don't leave anything
They
out.
really read
They
into
really don't leave
everything.
anything out.
They over give you information.
I wonder if I wonder how much people feel like he evoked Lenny.
Mhm.
And if they're like, yeah, that was exactly Lenny. In which case, do we just feel like Lenny's a lot? And it felt like Lenny was always trying too hard. There's a version to me where it's like, that is the character. And there's a version where it's like, he's not hitting it. And I can't tell the difference without knowing more about him. And I go, I was compelled by his performance, and that's good enough for me.
That's true. And I didn't know Leonard Bernstein much before this film. I knew of course, some of his popular work, but I didn't know him as a composer. I didn't know how much coverage he had gotten during his huge career.
Yeah, the fact that none of the political stuff came into play here.
For sure.
These guys were like...
Pretty political.
He was bailed out by JFK while he was a senator.
Yeah,
after the
for
whole
sure.
Black Panther party he had at his house. There's so many interesting...
He just likes people.
Whoa things. And her too. She was the party thrower, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, all
There's
in
just
all,
so much missing for me.
I really enjoyed watching this film though. I enjoyed it because it was unlike many films I've seen. And I applaud Bradley Cooper. I applaud Lee Batik because he killed it again. Like, again, he just, like, what these shots are just very bold. And I give you credit for that. I love how much effort he put into it.
Yep.
You know, people's opinion of how whether it felt over.
I just think overall it wasn't cohesive enough for me to. Yes, there are all of those things. Yes, he did so much research. He put so much effort in. He looked the part. I don't know if he sounded the part as much as he wanted to or overdid it, but there's a lot of things that I really appreciate. The cinematography is great. The makeup's great. There's so many things, but it wasn't the pack. It just didn't all go together for me. There was some ups and downs, little holes.
That's fair.
Rips at the seams that I didn't like.
That happens. That's what makes.
I still
that
liked it.
tension.
Still liked
is
it.
what keeps our many audience members coming back.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. And I'd put it above May December.
Oh, really? You thought it was better than May December? That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
That to me is like easy.
Yeah, I also think it doesn't compare to Oppenheimer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when we talk about these conversations, okay. Like, we're like, oh, it's shot on film. I'm like, yeah, so is Oppenheimer, only with a more incredible, like, scope. Like, so I keep thinking, like, yeah, this is a really good picture, and it's cool they shot it on film, but we still have Oppenheimer and Barbie in the same year. So it doesn't, I'm still
So it's
like,
not winning for you yet?
No, it's not even top it's not even top 3 for me right now. So
there you go.
So there we go. That's the conversation. Does this win Oscar for you for Best Picture, Pat?
No.
Yeah.
But I like that it's in there.
Yeah.
I like the diversity of stories.
Does it?
Yeah,
what about?
I almost like the story of the making of it more than I like
100%.
how they delivered the story.
And I want to see a documentary on Leonard Bernstein now. That's what I want to see.
They're out there.
Badly.
It seems like a lot of them are out there.
There are a lot of them out there.
I'm gonna look.
And I watched some chunks of several, but yeah. So that's the other thing too. I'm like, I guess it's not a documentary. I get that.
If I want that information, I suppose I could watch the actual.
But you know the funny thing is though, I watched Elvis again a couple nights ago just because I do like biopics.
Yeah.
Like,
we need to
I
watch Priscilla
love-
because this is one where the family doesn't.
Oh, we're going to be
agree.
watching Priscilla. Whether or not we get to it before the Oscars is the only question. Okay, so overall, glad we watched it.
Sure.
Glad we watched it. That was a lot of fun.
100%.
Yeah. Guys, this is the Oscar season, and we are going through possible Oscar Best Picture nominations, and we might get a few others on the side, but we are going through so we can be prepped for the Oscars, and hopefully we'll have a fun little show for you at that time as well. But in the meantime, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching on YouTube.
Thanks, everyone.
Listen, subscribe, hit that bell, whatever you got to do, because we are bringing you all the snobby movies, folks. That's right. Take the journey with us to become a movie snob. This is Seth.
Maiah.
And
Pat.
And
Ivy.
Ivy? Oh, Ivy.
Ivy.
Wrigley Stadium has Ivy on it. Of course it is. Oh,
Yes, the ivy on the wall in Wrigley Field.
Winner.
Boo. And on that note, goodbye, folks. See you next week.
Night, night.
Bye.